open this up and go across to our other guests also. The NCPCR chief is here with us. But before we do that, viewers, just a quick reminder that the big question that we are framing is going to come up on your screens. Lip service paid to the cause of social justice tonight. Is that what really happened? And is that what is going to happen?
Hello, Moto.
It brought to you by Motorola. Have a look at that. Gay marriage verdict, lip service to equality, to social justice. Let's open this up. Let's get into this. We have some very, very, very eminent panelists tonight. Karuna Nundy being one of them. J. Sai Deepak. We also have with us Hitesh Jain, who has taken a very strident view on this issue on Twitter, which has found favor with, of course, those in government also, and many others who believe that the Supreme Court was perhaps, as Mr. Jethmalani said, exceeding its brief at one particular point because it didn't have the jurisdiction to do so in the first place. Mr. Kanoongo is also there with us, the NCPCR chief. Thank you very much for speaking to us. Mr. Kanoongo, let me ask you a very simple question. Do you believe that we've lost an opportunity today to, at some level or the other, grant recognition to a number of people who have found themselves on the wrong side of social prejudice?
See, NCPCR's intervention is very limited in this case towards the question of adoption by the same-sex couple. And as we presented in Honorable Supreme Court, India relies on Hague Convention of Adoption as well as United Nations Conventions Right of Children in both instruments, both international instruments. There is no mention of adoption by the same-sex couples. By relying on these international instruments, our Juvenile Justice Act and the adoption regulations, which are in the line of these international instruments, there is no space currently in the country to allow adoption by a male to of a female child or by a same-sex couple, because there is no mention of this kind of adoption in international laws. So we are bound by laws. We just presented all these facts to the Honorable Supreme Court, and we are happy that Honorable Supreme Court has given indulgence while passing this verdict today. I am glad, I am happy, and it is in the best interest of children of country.
You said best interest of children of the country. Why do you say this? Is it because same-sex couples subscribe to a perhaps less robust moral code? Is that what you're saying?
See, the entire world is bound by some rules, some regulations, which are international instruments, and we all are bound to abide by them. If there is no mention of such kind of adoption in international treaties or in global conventions, then it will be quite difficult to adopt this kind of,
but Mr. Kanoongo,
adoption processes.
You used a phrase. I'm actually coming back to that phrase. I want to understand that phrase better, because there are countries, of course, where same-sex couples are allowed to adopt children. So I want to ask you, sir, you said it is not desirable. Why is it not desirable? Can I understand that from you?
See, you name the country. I have the name of countries where this kind of adoptions allowed, but they are not signatory of UNCRC. India is signatory of UNCRC, and in UNCRC there is no mention of such type of adoption.
Okay, but you talked about the
desirability.
Mr. Kanoongo, you talked about desirability Can I ask you, why is it not desirable? Forget about what the convention says. As the NCPCR chief, do you believe, sir?
No, you can't.
You
can't forget. You can't forget the conventions, because there are many consequences. If a couple adopt a child, they have to travel abroad also. They in current scenarios, we are bound to rely on international treaties in cases of adoption, because India is a proud country which has signed Hague Convention on Adoption, and inter-country adoption is also allowed in the country. So we have to be bound by the laws, and there is no mention in the law. That's it. That's why it is desirable.
I only asked you because you used a subjective criteria, desirability, which is very elastic, as you know. So that's why I asked you this question. Thank you, Mr. Kanoongo, for putting this into perspective for some of our viewers. Let's open this up. Let's test this entire proposition. Let's open this up. Let's ask some questions. Karuna Nundy, I have to ask you this question because, look, there was, and you would have to admit, a lot of hope. We've seen some amount of progress in the history of gay rights in this country, and some people have found that to be quite astonishing given the baggage that we have carried in the past. So perhaps the time had come. Many people had felt that the Supreme Court, under a Chief Justice who has committed himself to inclusivity, etc., perhaps this would have been the right time. Do you feel that we missed an opportunity here?
That's very well put, actually. I think this is a historic opportunity that has been missed. I will also say that we have not gone backwards. At the same time, there are some gains. Now, transgender people of the opposite gender can marry under the Special Marriage Act. This is something that was recognized in the judgment of Arun Kumar that we had submitted, that passed by the Madras High Court. In addition, the Chief Justice has passed very clear directions to protect LGBTQIA couples against. And so, sorry, there's something going on in the background. Is that your video?
Are you hearing a voice or something? Is that?
I'm hearing your video parallelly in Hindi, maybe.
Okay, can we just separate the beams? I think we've got some feedback going into Ms. Nandy's earphone. Can that be taken care of?
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Okay.
Essentially, so these directions have also been passed, and I'm reading the judgment now. It only came through a short time ago, but from what the judges pronounced in open court, it appears that 3 judges, at least, it appears 4 judges, in fact, agreed that transgender couples of opposite genders their marriage will be recognized under the Special Marriage Act, and in addition, the protection from criminal case harassment through criminal cases will be ameliorated through the directions that were passed today. However, I do want to say this, that today it has been made clear that the furtherance and protection of queer rights is desirable and important by all judges. This was made clear. The recognition of queerness, in fact, in the judicial domain has been made clear. There was discussion earlier of same-sex marriage, and in fact that was trending all over on Twitter. People were talking about it. There was some counsel in court who were only focusing on same-sex marriage, and a number of us made clear that this does not include non-binary persons, it does not include trans persons, and the court has squarely addressed the fact that trans rights and queer rights are front and center. Now, the fact that the ball has gone back into the court of the legislature, we came to court in the first place because the legislature has failed over a long period of independent India to do anything about this. However, now that the ball is in the court of the legislatures, let us remember something very clearly, that the state legislatures also have powers. In the concurrent list, in the state list, There are powers that they have through which they can pass legislation, they can pass orders, they can pass notification. And if the opposition parties are going to stand in support of the rights of queer citizens, then let them put their votes where their governance is. Let them pass. Perhaps all that is needed is a government order or a notification to say that the family of the partner of a queer person whose natal family has abandoned them, but whose partner and a marital like relationship has stood with them and they have chosen them for such a situation, that person then makes decisions for them when they are incapacitated medically, for example.
Right.
That the default situation, for example, I mean, there's a lot that can be done. And that is something I think that has to happen now on very fast.